All right, welcome back to Draftvice. It's finally back. We're here, and today we're talking week 2, man. Week 2 of the football, not just fantasy, not just the Browns. We are talking the football of week 2. If you watch, first off, like, follow, subscribe. If you don't watch, you could also listen to me on Face Off with Facemeyer every Thursday, 6 to 7. You could also check me out on Let's Talk Sports, ran by my dude Dan David Harris. We're doing all different kind of things. He got a whole bunch of he got a network going on there. I'm over there usually on Fridays. This week we had to take a week off, but we previewed the shows last week. We'll be back doing games soon on that. So today I'm previewing all the as much as I can, talk about some of the inactives coming out. Right now we had Giants Washington on Thursday. That was an interesting game. It looked like a tale of two quarterbacks were very similar. Maybe like Daniel Jones is like the next level upgrade to Taylor Heineke. They're like on the Ryan Tannehill spectrum. But kind of athletic, kind of decent thrower, but like not the best throwers in the world. Just sometimes just don't have the right like game. I feel like I would, if it was between Heineke and Daniel Jones, I'd probably take Daniel Jones, absolutely. But it's still just like I feel like they're on the same spectrum of quarterback, very similar style, have a little bit of run to their game, but not a lot. You really don't want to be running them, and although they did do that with Daniel Jones quite a bit. But let's jump on to we got Raiders Steelers. The Raiders upsetted the Ravens. Will they do it again to the Steelers? I think the Steelers defense is a little bit tighter than the Ravens defense. The Raiders also aren't going to have Josh Jacobs. He was already declared out for this game. The Steelers' offensive line doesn't look good, so I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't know what the under is on the Raiders-Steelers game, but I would hammer it because both these offensive lines are kind of not the best situations they've been in recent years. Both these defensive lines are looking actually kind of nice. So I'm kind of, and the back ends of these defenses aren't as bad as like maybe, some of us might think, but they're not necessarily the best end. But because they have such a good pass rush up front, I think they'll be fine. Eagles, 49ers. Can the Eagles pull off an upset here? The Eagles got, Sirianni's been game planning, right? I think the Niners are going to still have that good D line. I think there's some rumors that I think Eric Armstead is playing today. Let's pull up if we have some inactives here. Broncos inactives. Graham Glasgow is out. I think he was doubtful for this game. He had some heart issues last week. Gene, there's not really anybody else. Safety Jamar Johnson, I was kind of intrigued on seeing him get to play eventually. They're playing Jacksonville. I am very much looking to I think the Broncos are going to win this game. Broncos offensive line's looking good. Teddy Bridgewater's on a team that is just, surrounding him with talent. No Jerry Jeudy, so we'll see how they adapt to no Jerry Jeudy. Is Cortland Sutton, even though Cortland Sutton played 80% of snaps last week, is he going to go ahead and take a step forward as far as more snaps? I think that there's a possibility there. Are they going to try and get him the ball in space? Are they going to try and orchestrate? That was the thing. A couple years ago, the thing with Cortland Sutton is they were trying to get him the ball, and now you have all these kind of interesting weapons. KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick kind of came along last year during Cortland Sutton's absence. But Cortland Sutton played 80% of the snaps. He didn't look like he was, not up to game speed off the ACL. So I'm kind of leaning more towards I think Cortland Sutton will eventually bounce back this season. Rams game. Rams declared QB Bryce Perkins. Nobody surprising on the Rams front. It looks like Bobby Brown, mid-round draft pick. He's inactive. I don't think that's that big a deal. Steelers have declared Joe Hayden, Dwayne Haskins, Devin Bush, Carlos Davis, and Rashid Coward inactive for week 2 against the Raiders. Joe Hayden's a big one. He's starting outside corner. Devin Bush is an important part of their defense, although he hasn't really played super well over the last couple of years. Did have an ACL last year, but before the ACL wasn't really looking like he had developed too much. They had traded up to get him in the draft a couple of years ago. Again, I was saying before, Raiders Raiders-Pittsburgh is going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but with no Joe Hayden, and if the Raiders' offensive line buys Carr any kind of time, they could kind of get roasted with that. I think there's going to be, it depends. I know they have Ahkello Witherspoon, who they traded for, so maybe he gets the start. They have, I think it's Cam Sutton they brought back, so we'll see what happens with that corner room. The safeties there are pretty interesting. Tavinka Fitzpatrick, Edmonds, I'm not a huge fan of, but Bengals declared Trey Waynes inactive, along with Tyler Shelvin, D tackle, who's close to my heart, just a big dude. Bengals, yeah. I'm not. Trey Waynes is going to be a big issue not having him. He actually, is a not bad corner. Now their defense looked pretty good last week against the Minnesota Vikings. You got to realize the Minnesota Vikings were on some, kind of further into their backup line of offensive linemen. So I'm not sweating it but they're playing the Bears this week, right? So is Andy Dalton going to get maybe a little bit more wiggle room this week? The offensive line for the Bears ain't great either. And it really is like the Bengals defensive line. It's weird. There's not really like a true pass rusher that's got a lot of good D tackles, and they're not like necessarily elite D tackles, but we'll see like if that rotation of them kind of, creates a little bit of pressure. They also got Trey Hendrickson. But is Andy Dalton going to be able to, beat that defense? We'll see. That team, it's not the same team anymore though, since he was there. Bears side of it, I mean, I'm not overly eager to have to focus on the Bears, to be honest. Jump to see who else is inactive. Preston Williams is active. Okay, that's good. I know Odell's inactive. Although Browns, Jedrick Wills is active for this game. He's going to give it a go to start at left tackle. If not, they're going to have, they have James Hudson. They have Blake Hance. Let's see what's coming down the pike on the Wills in and starts. Malcolm Smith is listed as middle linebacker for the Browns. Jedrick Wills will be active. It doesn't necessarily mean that it looks like he's starting. Sounds like that's the rumor. Chase McLaughlin just hit a 58-yard field goal in warm-ups, apparently. This is hearsay, folks. Don't hold me to it. I could be wrong. But let's see. Anything else coming down the pike? Come on. Let's see what else we got coming through. Josh Jacobs declared inactive. Richie Incognito declared inactive. Nick Kwiatkowski declared inactive. Raiders going to be down quite a few players. No Jordan Simmons. No Damon Square. Jacobs in practice all this week. Incognito, though, that's a big part of that interior offensive line. That kind of worries me a little bit. The interior defensive line for the Steelers is actually very good. You got Cam Hayward, Alualu. Stephon Tuitt's not playing right now. He's currently, I believe, on IR. So we will see what happens with this team. I'm intrigued what ends up happening in that game, that matchup. I still think it's going to be very low scoring, especially because Ben Roethlisberger doesn't look like he could throw the ball downfield. Let's see where we got right now. Got Broncos, Jags. Broncos defense, they could lose a corner like Ronald Darby and still be pretty stacked at corner. That's amazing. Panthers, Saints, I think is going to be an interesting game. I think that's going to be a higher scoring game than people might realize. Saints are missing Marshawn Lattimore, a couple of other defensive pieces. Their corner room, I think maybe even, is it Chauncey Gardner-Johnson they might not have for this game? Let me see if they announced the inactives. I know it was rumored that Lattimore wasn't playing. In which case, DJ Moore is already pretty good against them, but now you don't have Lattimore. I'm thinking if you got DJ Moore in your lineup, I think you're going to be feeling pretty safe. Yep, Lattimore's inactive. Also, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the guy who likes to get people to try to fight him. He's not going to be playing today. Let's see, Tanner Capasino, no Eric McCoy, no Pete Werner, Ian Book. Okay, so after Eric McCoy, nothing on there is really all that surprising. The Jets declared Denzel Mims inactive for Week 2 against the Patriots. That's not too surprising. They really didn't seem to be utilizing him. I think Crowder's also inactive too, if I wasn't mistaken. Anthony Miller's going to be inactive for the Texans. Gabriel Davis is active. He had an ankle this week. Inactives for the Bills are F.A. Odabe, Boogie Basham, who I was a big fan of coming out of the draft, Harrison Phillips, Andre Smith, the linebacker, Tommy Doyle, the tackle. So outside of that, I mean, there's not, other than Boogie Basham not getting any play time, but I mean, that sometimes happens with guys who are second or third round picks. Bears declared Nick Foles, Brashad Perriman, Alex Taylor, Travis Gibson, Jesper Horsted, and Eddie Goldman inactive against the Bengals. None of these are all that surprising. Overall, I'm not too shocked here. Crowder's inactive along with Denzel Mims. Keelan Cole is active. Elijah Moore's going to get another shot to be a starting wideout for this team. Also inactive are Josh Adams, LaMichael Pirine, Jason Pinnock, and Jonathan Marshall. So we'll see how it goes there. Houston's declared Deshaun Watson out. No shocker there. Brevin Jordan, Jimmy Moreland. Nobody who, well, then again, we don't really, the names on Houston don't really matter anymore after Deshaun Watson at this point. They got, as long as Brandon Cooks and Tyrod Taylor are playing, that's about the extent of it. There is an expectation, according to Ian Rappaport, that Justin Fields may take increased amount of snaps. We will see. Let's see here. Elijah Mitchell is expected to carry the load against the Eagles. Ravens are expected to follow the hot hand against the Chiefs, so it means it could be Tyson Williams, could be our boy. What's it called? Who's the running back that I'm thinking of? It could be our boy, Latavius Murray. There we go. You got Yannick Ngakoue is expected to play today. Eric Armstead will play in week 2. These, I guess, were pre-injury reports. Let's see if there's anything else that came in through the Twitterverse right now. Let's see. Quick run through some of the games. Like I said, I think Saints, Panthers. I think the Panthers could win this one, actually. They're the more healthy team. The defense there, it could start gelling eventually. Rams, Colts, that's going to be an interesting one. Eric Fisher makes his start for the Colts today, coming back from an Achilles injury. The Rams are the Rams. They looked pretty good last week against the Bears. You got Matt Stafford, Van Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods there. See if Darrell Henderson carries the load again against this stout Colts front. You got the Bills and the Dolphins game. I think that's going to be an intriguing one. Bills' defensive front's pretty good. Dolphins' coverage unit's pretty good. And I'm not quite sure, I'm very intrigued to see how this all works out. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a total yes, the Bills are going to win this one. I think that the Dolphins very much have a shot at winning this. Dolphins' coverage unit's really good, but Diggs has done pretty well getting free over there against the Dolphins in the past couple of years, and the Bills blew them out the last couple of times they played. Patriots, Jets, each are playing rookie quarterbacks with missing offensive linemen. I'm going to lean Patriots here because they still have a lot more pieces that are still healthy, whereas the Jets feel like it's every other day there's another person going down with an injury. Talked a little bit about Bengals, Bears. Both these teams have kind of middling defenses and, interesting situations at quarterback. We'll see what ends up happening. I'm wondering when the Bears are going to go ahead and switch full on to Justin Fields. Hopefully it's not next week. Falcons, Buccaneers. We will see what ends up happening with the Falcons if they end up bouncing back. Buccaneers, they're missing some corners. They might be missing Carlton Davis. I think they're definitely missing Sean Murphy-Bunting from his elbow injury. Back end is going to get a little weak this week, so we'll see what happens with the Buccaneers. Maybe the Falcons don't look nearly as bad, although that defensive front's still kind of scary. Vikings-Cardinals. Maybe this is where the Cardinals come down to earth a little bit, but again, that defensive front's pretty good. We'll see. The Vikings kind of need a bounce back week after losing all the way into overtime against the Bengals, which I thought they were going to do a lot better than. But remember, Vikings have some offensive line health issues. Titans, Seahawks. Titans got shellacked last week. Now they got to show that, hey, we're not just going to keep getting shellacked like this. So we'll see what ends up happening. Seahawks, I'm still going to lean Seahawks no matter what because Seahawks, you got Russell Wilson. That defensive line might be able to get at it a little bit. It's a lot of pieces I feel like they're thrown together for Seattle that just seem to kind of click. Very similar to the Vikings as well, if the Vikings ever end up clicking. Cowboys, Chargers, I feel like that's going to be a high-scoring game. Both sides kind of, getting the ball moving. Both good offensive lines. I think the Chargers had a really good offensive line last week. Cowboys' offensive line, they're getting back Zach Martin. They're losing Leo Collins. But still, between CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, you have two guys that are just hard to take down and stop or slow down. Chargers, Herbert and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and their crew. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think. If I don't know what the over is, but I'd be leaning towards the over on that game. Chiefs Ravens. Chiefs have had the Ravens number since the Lamar and Mahomes have started playing football in the NFL. So I would go 100% on Chiefs versus the Ravens. And I think the Chiefs are almost fully healthy, whereas the Ravens have not been healthy. No Marcus Peters, a bunch of guys missing. What's his name's also not there anymore. Orlando Brown. Actually, switched teams. He's on the Chiefs. Meanwhile, the Ravens have Ronnie Stanley, who actually isn't going to play this week. So, again, health-wise, Ravens, you're not looking all too great. Lions, Packers. Packers are looking to go ahead and rebound this week, to go ahead and bounce back, to try to be like, hey, you know what? We're not as bad as you guys are making it sound, sir. We're better than this. We could be better than this. I'm not, let's see. Get any more news on this? Saints changed some. Bradley Roby's going to be playing today. Austin Ryder. They have a lot of guys who they're just pulling off the street this week. And I think that's it. That's kind of the end of the preview for today. Thanks for tuning in. If you want, you can follow the show at Draftvice on Twitter, at Draftvice_football on Instagram. You can follow me at BROJO. Death is in the end of life. Punch like a delicious drink you drink in the summer. Have a good day. I hope your team wins. I don't know which team it is. As far as fantasy goes, good luck. I was going to probably preview a little bit more fantasy, but not a lot of news came in fantasy-wise today. As far as what I could see, or at least not off the top of my head. Take care, and I'll see you next time.